If someone came up to you and said, all right, I've got a scheme that will make you $100,000. It's illegal, but don't worry about it. The penalty is unlikely to happen. You're unlikely to get caught. And you just got to give me $20,000 and I'll teach you how to make 100. Would you do it? Probably not. Most of you would not. I certainly wouldn't. You might think of something like a Ponzi scheme. You might think of, a million things that are, illegal or highly questionable on the verge of illegal that are kind of maybe running through your brain right now. But there are prominent people across America teaching doctors how to be a consultant around the country. And for the low price of 20 grand, they just tell you it's illegal, but don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, you'll be fine. Would you still sign up? People must be signing up because that is exactly what was on a webinar that I attended recently. There was a person there who, I won't name any names, but they were selling a practice management, get rich quick scheme. They had lots of testimonials, but amidst all the testimonials on this legal portion of the webinar, he said, well, some of you may be asking, what happens if I practice out of state or across state lines without a license? And without actually saying it, he did, and I was actually shocked about the honesty, did admit that, it's illegal to do. And as longtime followers of mine will know that it is not only illegal, it is a criminal offense. It's a misdemeanor at worst or at best, and it's felony 3 or felony 2 at worst, which, leads to mandatory jail time for felonies. End of story. That's on top of criminal penalties and civil penalties. Now, the likelihood of getting there is admittedly low, but if I told you, hey, I want you to build your business on this illegal model, and I want you to give me $20,000 to show you how to do it, it just, when you break it down into the the core elements, it just is ridiculous, and I can't believe people are signing up for it. I mean, there's plenty of ways to make a ton of money building a solid business legally without jeopardizing your whole business, number one, but number 2, your license, and number 3, your personal freedom from not being in a jail cell. So I'll kind of give you some more of the details about what was said in justifying this teaching model, but then I'll transition into safer ways you can do it, because there are safer ways to do it. We've done it. Lots of my clients have done it. You can build a highly successful practice without breaking the law. And, isn't that what we are all taught to do growing up, even without the fear of jail time looming over our heads? So I've been sitting on this one for a while because I didn't want to react emotionally, but this person was saying that, we kind of answered the question on this webinar by saying that, he checked with some medical boards and that, no, they're not actively out there policing it. They're not like sending out undercover agents unless they get a tip, right? So they get a tip, hey, this person's probably practicing illegally. They might send an undercover agent. They might just send a letter, cease and desist, or both. So it is true that people have gone to jail for this, and not just once in a while. But he was justifying it by saying, all right, so they're not out there monitoring you actively, number one. They rely on tips from the public. So if you are in longer appointments with your patients, more than 7 minutes long, I guess it was a justification. He's still talking to conventional docs too, that you're building a rapport and a know, like, and trust factor with your patients. So they're probably not going to report you anyways, right? And then, the penalty is probably a slap on the wrist. But if the penalty includes the possibility of jail time, I wouldn't necessarily label that a slap on the wrist. So that, in a nutshell, is what this person was saying. And then I swear, not 2 minutes later was asking for $20,000 to teach this model. All right, so that person aside, I don't want to judge. I don't want to cast aspersions. I don't like that energy. But I do want to tell you there are plenty of safe ways to do it. All right, so number 1, there's 168 hours in a week. Well, let's back up a second. There's 250 work days in a year, excluding holidays and weekends. if you see in a functional medicine practice, if you personally can see 6 people in a day, that's probably a lot. I know they're draining appointments. I know there's a lot to do with notes and all that. If you see 6 people a day for 250 days in the year, that's what? 6 times 250 is 1,500, right? That's 1,500 appointment spots in your year. Many of them will be repeat clients, repeat patients. So how many, if everyone comes twice a year, you need 750 patients. If people come three times a year or 4 times a year, I don't know, you get the point. You don't need more than maybe 300 patients to come 5 times a year. 300 times 5 is 1,500. That's at seeing 6 patients a day, 5 days a week, 250 days a year. So that includes Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. These are non-holiday days. That's no vacations, right? So 300 patients 5 times a year. Do you think you can find 300 patients in your state? Do you think that you could find 300 patients in your state plus the 22 million people that live in Florida? Great. So whether the answer to both of those questions was yes or not, I have good news for you. In your state, there are at least 300 people that you can probably serve if you know how to find them. Right. Then Florida offers a telemedicine registration that allows any provider, like lots of different license levels, to register with the Department of Health in Florida, prove that there's somebody here to accept service of process on your behalf. They're called registered agents. And there are companies that will do that for you for $30 to $50 per year. Then you can practice in Florida and have access to our 22 million citizens, right? More in the winter when all the snowbirds come down. But if you can't find 300 to 500 people a year, or just 300 to 500 people total to fill up your practice in your state, I don't know what state you live in, but even if you're in Delaware, you can, or Wyoming, you can probably find a handful of people. And then maybe, just maybe, you might be able to find some more in Florida or get full licenses in other states or get telemedicine only licenses in states not Florida to expand your reach safely and legally and still charge, have a good life, make a bunch of money, serve a lot of people, and do it safely. So I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that. Well, I was, refreshed that there was honesty and admission there from this person because, for the past 5-6 years, however long I've been doing this, I get that question once a week. Well, how do I practice nationally? I tell them they can't unless they're licensed in every state or have some other, type of registration for telemedicine only. And then they said, well, what about so-and-so? Or what about this program headed by a different person, actually? What about that person? They're teaching that I can just call myself a consultant and then still practice everywhere. And my answer was, I don't know. And it's probably because they're teaching you illegally. But now I just have, full-on confirmation that it was on the webinar that I attended, that people that purport to call themselves consultants and then just practice medicine anyways, lab tests, diagnoses, treatments, all of that. Even if you're not using labs, even if you're not taking insurance, even if you're not writing prescriptions, just giving of the medical advice is the practice of medicine, or letting them know that you can treat their symptoms is the practice of medicine, particularly if you call yourself Dr. Radigan or whatever you call yourself. It's just kind of silly at this point, and I don't mean to be glib about it, but I really don't want you guys to be people that follow me and are clients of mine to be the one that I'm recording a future video on and saying, look at Dr. Smith. They tried to practice all around the country. They got in trouble and now they are regretting it, right? And I try not to do a lot of scare tactics. That's why you may not have heard me do this particular topic in the past, but it is a criminal offense in every state. And it also opens you up to civil liability. And if there's a safe way to do it and still make a bunch of money and serve a lot of people, then why wouldn't you do it that way, right? Well, that is what I propose to do. There's a book, you can pre-order it. We'll put it in the link below, or it might already be available. So we'll link to that as well, on how to practice telemedicine safely and how to get about 16 special purpose telemedicine licenses around the country. There are 16 states that allow you to do that right now, and many more are coming. You can get more medical licenses through the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact to, I think there's 34 states at the moment. So that's what, 65% of the country, 2/3 of the states. So please, please don't practice illegally around the country calling yourself a consultant. That's an easy, lazy, and illegal way to do it. I don't want you to fall into that trap. So there's plenty of ways to do it safely. If you need help getting there, you can come talk to me. There's a legal health assessment. It's very affordable, and I'll walk you through the process, or you can purchase the book. So we'll walk you through the process even better and list out all the statutes in all the states that are relevant to the practice of telemedicine. So follow us at Functional Lawyer. My name is Scott Radigan. I'm an attorney licensed in Florida, the founder of Functional Lawyer and Origins Incubator. So please like and subscribe and share this with anybody who needs to see it, including people that are in those programs or who are considering buying one of those programs. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.